Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday International Big Book Workshop. I'm Dan B, and I'm a really grateful recovered alcoholic here today. This workshop is facilitated by Kemble H. This study relies on you listening, but please, we pray you have your big book in hand and follow along with a pen, pencil, or highlighter, and make any notes. Pause if you have to. Also, write down any questions, and we'll take them at the end of the meeting. We will keep everybody muted during the workshop except for the facilitators. Any inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated and you'll be removed by one of the co-hosts. This meeting is being recorded, the audio portion only, and only of the facilitators. The recording will be stopped at the end of the workshop before taking any questions in order to preserve your anonymity. And how we have a start here is with a step 3 prayer found on page 63, if you care to join me. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Thanks, guys. Over to you, Kemble.
Okay, thank you, Brother Dan, for the great introduction. Happy Sunday, everybody. My name is Kimball. I'm a recovered alcoholic. This is the Keystone Sunday International Big Book Workshop. Means I'll be doing the majority of the talking. Y'all can listen and take notes and highlights whenever necessary. We're still working on step 1. Today, we'll be starting on page 36. And in the chapter more about alcoholism. So far, up to this point, we've seen the problem. We can't take a drink without stopping. This part of the chapter brings out the second part of being a real alcoholic, right? The malady of the mind. And we can see the insanity when it comes to taking that first drink. Shoot, I know I was totally insane. I don't know about y'all. Shoot, I knew when I took a drink, some crazy stuff was gonna happen, but I tried to trick myself, said I'm gonna act better this time. Shoot, I got this thing. And this thing, I know I got a drunk and all, and hell broke loose. That's just the bottom line. So, last week here on page 35, we was talking about the man that pulled out his carpet slippers after staying sober for 25 years. He had symptoms of this allergy, right? He already developed the phenomenon of craving, but then when he got this good job, and he said he wouldn't take another drink until he retired from that job. So 25 years later, he retired from that job. Self-will kept him sober, right? But self-will will not solve our problem. The self-will is going to always fail us, no matter how long we think we are sober or how long we think we can keep ourselves sober. So he was depending on self, not realizing he had an allergy. So when he retired the carpet slipper, he pulled out his house shoes, got in his recliner, and within 4 years, he was dead. So the question we need to face, are we convinced by now we're an alcoholic by what we read so far? So this big book is loaded with information. And if we can relate to what these first 100 men and women wrote, we can see for ourselves. Do I have the same problem, or do I have the same experience they had? Yes. Remember, though, the first step in recovery is this delusion that has to be smashed. And we think that we are like or can be like other people. But, we have to smash it. So I can ask myself, and maybe y'all can ask yourself, do I believe that after I've been sober for a certain amount of time, would it be okay for me to drink again, even if it is for 25 years? No, by this example, no. This man died. So we can't have no reservations. When we're real alcoholics, reservations got to be smashed. And we can't think that maybe one day I can pick it up and drink again. So whether such a person can quit on a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he would drink or not. So, I had to ask myself as well, and I'm sure we all had to at this point. Am I a person who has lost the power of choice to drink? The answer for me was yes. So, and that qualified me. If so, the only solution is a spiritual solution. So, that's the solution for an alcoholic. When we get sober by taking the spiritual principles outlined in this book, and it's simply spiritual. So the man Jim, right? Not Jim. Yeah, the man Jim. Bottom page 35. Uh, we told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. So he finds out the problem, right? That he's a real alcoholic. He suffered from a phenomenon craving, better known as an allergy to the body. This is what sets us apart from normal drinkers and moderate drinkers. The answer that these guys from AA had explained to him, spiritual, the spiritual answer, the spiritual solution. So he made a beginning, right? His family was reassembled and he began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. So he done took step 1, step 2, then step 3, right? So all went well for a while, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life, meaning he didn't take steps 4 through 12. So quite naturally, he got drunk again. So he agreed he was a real alcoholic and in serious condition. So he knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family for whom he had a deep affection. Top of page 36. Yet he got drunk again. So we asked him to tell us exactly how it happened. This is his story. I came to work on Tuesday morning. I remember I felt irritated that I had to be a salesman for a concern that I once owned. Here's the problem. Jim resented having to work at a business he once owned. Resentment is extremely dangerous to alcoholics. And this book gonna explain this about the resentments later on. So he said he had a few words with the brass, but nothing serious. Then he decided to drive to the country and to see one of my prospects for a car. On the way, I felt hungry. So I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. I had no intention of drinking. Okay. He had no intention of drinking. He said he was hungry, but he wouldn't even had no thoughts of drinking. Then he goes on to say, I just thought I would get a sandwich. I also had the notion that I might find a customer for a car at this place, which was familiar. I had been going to it for years. Yeah, he had been going to this place many years, off and on. Probably some days he wouldn't drink, he just get a sandwich and go home. But this particular day is going to be a different day. Because he says I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at the table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. Still, no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. Now he's getting a full stomach. But notice, he had no intention of drinking. And secondly, he still had no thought of drinking. So, Brother Dan, I want you to share with us what happened to him, where it says suddenly.
Yeah, of course.
Just a little
Suddenly,
short paragraph.
yep. Italics on the page 36, everybody. Suddenly, the thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it couldn't hurt me on a full stomach. I ordered a whiskey and poured it into the milk. I vaguely sensed I was not being any too smart, but felt reassured as I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach. The experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another.
Okay, thank you, brother. Suddenly, notice, when the big book puts
Makes
something in
sense.
italics, right? That means it's very, very important. It's something to really meditate on. So suddenly the thought crossed his mind that if he were to put an ounce of milk, an ounce of whiskey in the milk, it couldn't hurt him on a full stomach. Yeah, I can relate. What about that full stomach? People tell us all kind of things. Well, if you get a full stomach before you drink, you won't get drunk. People come up with all kind of conceptions and plans, and we do too. So Jim had the insane thought that if he drank alcohol with milk, he wouldn't get drunk. But the lie detector determined that is so not true, Brother Jim. So then, the bottom paragraph. Thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of their intense mental and physical suffering, which drinking always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, but his self-knowledge had failed him. Some of these guys is already working with Jim, as we shared before. He even got far as step 3. Self-knowledge couldn't keep him sober, just like self-will couldn't keep our carpet slipper man, the man of 30. It couldn't keep him sober after 25 years of being on a dry drunk. So here's what happened to Jim. He took that first drink and he could not stop. In exchange for that drink, he was threatened with losing everything that he had, and he went straight back into severe mental and physical anguish. I can relate with that. The mental torture is so bad because after we take that drink, knowing we ain't had no business taking it, then let's say a few drinks later, we beating our heads on the bar, wondering, how did it happen this time? How did I do it again? I wondered myself so many times why I would do it again. The fact was, I didn't have a darn defense against that first drink. That's a problem. Alcohol had became my master. I had no control over it whatsoever. We lost the power of choice in drink. So then, here it goes. Yet all reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey if he only mixed it with milk. Wow. That's a pretty foolish idea. So, people I used to try experiments myself, right? Well, let me drink it with some 7-Up, if I drink some red whiskey, let me drink it with a Coke or a Pepsi, something to maybe kill the alcohol. But all it did was make me drink more and more when the allergy kicked in. And then I throw that darn soda away. Then I just kept it. I like my whiskey straight anyway. But when I was trying to get myself sober, right, I would try these different things. Well, shoot, it never that this kind of thinking has been characteristic for every single one of them. I can relate. The same kind of thinking was in my mind. See, when we're living with a chronic alcoholic mind, such as Roland Hazard, the doctor told Roland Hazard, you had a mind of a chronic alcoholic. I've never seen one single case to recover to the extent that you are. Wow, this is totally insane. So we have sometimes reflected more than Jim did on the consequences. But there was always this curious mental phenomenon that paralleled with our sound reasoning. Darren evidently ran some insane and trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Hey, sometimes we alcoholics, boy, we make plenty of excuses. No, I made excuses for everything in the world. But sometimes we may deliberately get drunk because we feel justified to get drunk. Well, shoot, I done had a good day or two. I can take a drink. That's an excuse we'll use. So then if we feel bad, shoot, well, let me take a drink. Maybe I'll feel better. So we believe that feeling bad is a good reason or a good excuse to drink. If somebody piss us off or step on our toes, we have a good reason to go take a drink. Knowing when we take that drink at this point, it's going to activate that allergy. And then it's all bets are off. To the paragraph. It said, our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea worn out. Yes, the insane idea of taking that first drink. In my experience, it was like playing Russian roulette for me. Knowing if I take that one drink, shoot, I ain't gonna be able to stop it, but I still tried it. I said, well, maybe I can stop it. Maybe I sit and take about 3 or 4, but once I take that first one, I try to stop at the third or fourth or fifth one, and next thing you know, I'm still drinking. Couldn't stop it because my body was suffering from a craving that my brain couldn't shut off. That was a problem. So the insane idea worn out when I said, okay, it's fine to take a drink now. But next day we would ask ourselves in all earnestness and sincerity, how could it have happened? We have no idea. See, these excuses, they they don't work. I tried it. I used to make excuses for everything in the darn world, only to end up drunk again and flat on my doggone back. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. It makes me think about something here. Matter of fact, okay, it makes me think about something I'd like to share here on page 42, still talking about the insanity of the mind. So the middle, almost in the middle of the page is where it says, two other members of Alcoholics Anonymous came to see me. Whoa, must be in trouble then, right? Because these two guys from AA, they come to see me, so they must think something wrong. And I shared with y'all before, right? In the military, when I was in my third year, they ordered me to go to AA because I guess they seen something was wrong with me. But hell, I got to the AA meeting. I'm thinking they're gonna help supply my liquor cabinet, right? That's insane thinking. So they grinned, which I didn't like so much. And then they asked me if I thought myself alcoholic and if I were really licked this time. No doubt. Uh, I couldn't accept the fact that I was an alcoholic until I was actually 12 steps through this program. Just going to meetings for 30 something years, sitting in them room, they didn't give me a solution. Nobody offered a solution. So I kept on drinking. So then when alcohol had beat me into a state of reasonableness, I seen I had to do something. It was either to go on to an alcoholic death or to seek some kind of help. So I did. So then, step one, I had to concede to both propositions. We had to concede to our innermost selves that we are alcoholic. Then we got to concede that, well, there's something wrong with my thinking. I drink when I don't want to drink. Even when I'm drinking and I get sick, the mind tells me to go ahead and keep on drinking. That's the malady. That malady is in full operation at this point. So, on the way we do it, we fully concede to ourselves. Nobody else can concede it for us. We have to do it. And once again, then we have to smash that darn delusion that we can drink like other people because we are abnormal. We real alcoholics, we have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. We may be sensible in everything else in life, but to the effect when it comes to alcoholism, it just flattens us on our back and then we are left still baffled and don't know what else to do. We'll take another drink. See, alcohol is our solution to everything in life. But then you take away that solution, and then we left with the problem. The problem is sinners in the mind. That's the problem right there. The brain, our thinking, our way of thinking. So then it goes on to relate. They piled on me heaps of evidence to the effect that an alcoholic mentality such as I had exhibited in Washington was a hopeless condition. They cited cases out of their own experience by the dozen. This process snuffed out the last flicker of conviction that I could do the job myself. I always thought I could solve my own alcohol problem, but I never could. Alcohol kept on beating me down. So I was sound reasoning. We don't have no good sound reasoning at this point. When the malady is in effect, it can hit us suddenly, like it did. Who my man Jim crossed that threshold. Suddenly the thought it crossed his mind. I can relate to that. Shoot, the thought used to cross my mind sometime when I'm knowing I don't have no business trying to go drink. I might have an important appointment to make or something. Then I take that drink a day or two ahead of time and I never make it. Boom. Been through that so many times in my drinking career. 42 years of that stuff. Wow. And then back to page 37. It says, in some circumstances, we are going out deliberately to get drunk. Yeah, deliberately, just for the heck of it. Well, I'm going to show you. I just go get a drink. You upset me, I'm going to get a drink. But something go wrong at the house, I'm just going to get a drink. Then drunk again. Like my man, we got drunk again. So feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, these are excuses. Well, I was nervous. I need to take a drink. Uh, anger. Anger used to be my most popular excuse. Shoot, I'd get angry for nothing, just to blame somebody else. Oh, you done made me mad. I'm going to get a drink. So that's bad. Worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. Many reasons we have to take excuses, we have to make excuses to drink. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. We now see that when we begin to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be. The terrible penalty that we might face for drinking, we don't even consider it. And one thing about it, we can't think the drink through. I used to hear in meetings and in treatment centers, well, why don't you just think it through? Why don't you just call your sponsor? Why don't you just go to a meeting? Shoot, none of that would help me think the drink through. Shoot, when we got the mind of a chronic alcoholic, these suggestions don't work. So remember, the problem of the alcoholic is centers in the mind rather than in his body. Our thinking is the problem. The mind is the problem. Then we take that drink, and then it becomes a problem in our very bodies. So premeditation drinking, that's what it talks about. We premeditate, we make plans and say, I'm gonna get this in order, I'm gonna get that in order, then I'm gonna take a drink, and then I can do this. Oh, next thing you know, I'm baffled, I'm tore up, no doubt. Back to page 37. Our behavior is absurd and incomprehensible with respect to the first drink as that of an individual with a passion, say, for jaywalking. He gets a thrill out of skipping in front of fast-moving vehicles. He enjoys himself for a few years in spite of friendly warnings. At this point, you would label him as a foolish chap having queer ideas of fun. Luck then deserts him and he is slightly injured several times in succession. You would expect him, if he were normal, to cut it out. Presently, he is hit again and this time has a fractured skull. Within a week after leaving the hospital, a fast-moving trolley car breaks his arm. He tells you he has decided to stop jaywalking for good, but in a few weeks, he breaks both legs. This is the crazy jaywalker story, and it's pretty neat. The Bill will compare our alcoholism to a jaywalker. Yeah, the jaywalker gets a thrill out of doing the incredible, right? He keeps jaywalking, he keeps getting hit by stuff, so he keeps on going. Same way with alcoholism, how alcoholism works. We drink, we have consequences, and all this good stuff, right? But the consequences don't make us alcoholic. We do absurd, crazy things, just like this jaywalker, right? So a little bit more about this jaywalker. Let me find my page. Here. Okay. See, thing about it, we alcoholics, we are not normal because we have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. Just like the problem with the jaywalker, the problem centers in his mind because he keeps jaywalking thinking he can beat this trolley car, he can beat this bus, he can beat this car across the street. And then, bam, something happens to him. He gets out the hospital again. So he tries the same thing over and over again. What is this but plain insanity? Just like with the alcoholic illness, plain insanity. And this is repeated over and over. Unless an entire psychic change has occurred, this person is doomed, just like the alcoholic. If this jaywalker do not find a solution for his jaywalking, he's going to end up dead. Just the same for the alcoholic, as Bill brings out. We alcoholics, if we keep going over and over the same way that we do, we can end up dead too, just like my man, the man of 30, them 25 years of dry drunk, he ended up dead when he retired. And after 4 years, the alcohol took him out of him. It took out a lot of people. Still doing it today. Like page 38. All through the years, this conduct continues, right? Oh yeah, accompanied by his continual promises to be careful or keep off the streets altogether. How many of us can relate? We're promising our family members we won't drink again. We're going to be good. I'm going to be on my best behavior, but then yet we get drunk again. Boom. Smash down all the structures all over again. So finally, he can no longer work. His wife gets a divorce, and he is held up to ridicule. He tries every known means to get the jaywalking idea out of his head. He sets himself up in an asylum, hoping to mend his ways. But the day he comes out, he races in front of a fire engine, which breaks his back. Once again, such a man would be crazy, wouldn't it? No problem. Here again, on page 23, when it comes to this jaywalker and when it comes to the alcoholic, the main problem of the alcoholic or the jaywalker is centers in his mind rather than in his body. So means something got to change in our thinking, right? Wow. Because I can relate to this jaywalker so much because every time I went to a detox center or rehab or a treatment center or a mental ward, for being drunk, when I come out, first thing I'm doing is going to that liquor store. The cycle starts all over again because I ain't getting no solution when I was in the place. The only solution I had when I come out that place was another drink. Insane thinking. So that's the question. Such a man would be crazy, wouldn't he? No doubt. What is this? But insane thinking. That is what's wrong with us alcoholics. So this is a great story. So the jaywalker can't stop jaywalking, even though he always gets hurt. So if he was a normal person, he could just stop. Just like when it comes to the alcoholic, if we were normal drinkers, we could just stop. But there's something going on much here that's greater, the mind. So the jaywalker had an abnormal mind condition, just like an alcoholic. We have an abnormal mind. We don't think like regular people think. At least I know I did. I don't know about y'all. So, but then his behavior continues throughout his life. Though he makes numerous promises to stop jaywalking, just like I just mentioned, we make many promises to our friends and family, employers, employees, we're going to stop, but then we can't. Then the clown broke his back. Now, got to be crazy. You have got to be crazy to keep doing the same thing. You're going to get yourself killed out there. Keep jaywalking and stepping in front of folks and all this. You were going to die. So the alcoholic is just like this crazy jaywalker. We some intelligent people, right? But we insane when it comes to our thinking and drinking. Totally insane. Oh, I can relate to that. Okay. Back to page 38. You may think this illustration is too ridiculous, but is it? The big book gonna answer this very question it just asked, but is it? We who have been through the ringer have to admit if we substituted alcoholism for jaywalking, the illustration would fit us exactly. True, so true. However intelligent we may have been in other respects where alcohol has been involved, we have been strangely insane. It's strong language, but isn't it true? Remember, back on top of page 37, it says whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else? It can't be. Wow. So some of you are thinking, yeah, what you tell us is true, but it doesn't fully apply. We admit we have some of these symptoms. We admit we have some of them, right? I ain't want to admit I had none of these darn things. No, I didn't want to admit it. But we have not gone to the extremes you fellas did. We try to make excuses saying, well, I ain't bad as this fella. I ain't bad as her. I certainly ain't bad as Jerome over there. No, Jerome crazy when he drank, but then had to look at myself. I'm just as crazy and all of them put together, right? Nor are we likely to, for we understand ourselves so well that after what you have told us, that such things cannot happen again. Now, he talks about now we understand ourselves so well. Yeah, we might can understand ourselves, but it ain't gonna stop us from taking that first drink and then getting drunk when that darn attitude, that phenomenon craving kicks in, no doubt. So we have not lost everything in life through drinking, and we certainly do not intend to. Thanks for the information. You know, shoot, I thought I wasn't gonna lose nothing in life either because of my drinking, because it came hard and strong. After about 3 years of my drinking, I look back on my past, I became a real alcoholic long before I ever thought it was, and I didn't want to accept anybody telling me I was an alcoholic because they had to practically fight me. Don't you call me no alcoholic. I don't want to hear. No, sir, no, ma'am. So page 39. That may be true of certain non-alcoholic people who, though drinking foolishly and heavily at the present time, are able to stop or moderate because their brains and bodies have not been damaged as ours were. But the actual or potential alcoholic, with hardly an exception, will be absolutely unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge still don't work. So with very few exceptions, even potential alcoholics, not quite yet full-blown alcoholics that have not suffered a lot, they'll be absolutely unable to be stopped drinking based on self-knowledge. If you haven't suffered enough, that's what I meant to say. So I kept on suffering and kept suffering. So, and I still didn't think I had suffered enough. But in the end, after 42 years, I realized I had done suffered enough. That's when I had to seek help. That's where AA came in handy. When somebody, I was praying, looking for somebody to 12-step me, and they finally showed up and changed the whole ball game and 12-stepped me through this process since recovery from alcoholism. Now, unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. Now here, this is a point we wish to emphasize and re-emphasize to smash home upon our alcoholic readers as it has been revealed to us out of bitter experience. And stop right there for a minute. I had an idea here in my mind on page 7, I think it is. Yep, but the actual potential alcoholic, with hard an exception, will be absolutely unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. Yes. Back on page 7, Bill Wilson learned that he had been seriously ill, bodily and mentally. That's the two symptoms. It relieved me somewhat to learn that in alcoholics, the will is amazingly weakened when it comes to combating liquor. Though it often remains strong in other respects, my incredible behavior in the face of a desperate desire to stop was explained. So here Bill says, understanding myself, I fared forth in high hope. For 3 or 4 months, the goose hung high. I went to town regularly and even made a little money. Sure, this was the answer, self-knowledge. So, can't stop just drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. Understand myself. Yeah, I can understand myself till I took that drink. And then all understanding went out the window, right? Boom, it's gone. So then, back to 39. It says, let us take another illustration. Talking about my man Fred, my buddy Fred. So, Fred is a partner in a well-known accounting firm. His income is good. He has a fine home and is happily married and father of promising children of college age. He has so attractive a personality that he makes friends with everyone. If ever there was a successful businessman, it is Fred. To all appearance, he is a stable, well-balanced individual, yet he is alcoholic. Fred's name is Harry Brick. That's his name. He got a story on page 252 in our first edition called a different slant. So he got sober in June 1938, but it is said that he sued to get the money he had loaned AA to get the big book published refunded. So we see he's an accountant. The big book calls him Fred. So his story goes from here, page 39 to page 43. So we'll be talking about Fred for a couple of pages. So he soon learned that not only had his drinking problem been relieved, it's going to come to, but quite as important was the discovery that spiritual principles would solve all his problems. So back to page 39. It says, we saw Fred about a year ago in a hospital where he had gone to recover from a bad case of jitters, right? It was his first experience of this kind, and he was much ashamed of it. Here, Fred feeling ashamed, so he made an excuse. Well, I got the jitters. I need to go to the hospital and see what's wrong with me. That's these excuses we alcoholics make. I used to say, I'm going to the hospital because I'm not feeling well. The reason I wasn't feeling well is I was full of darn alcohol and everything else. Just an excuse to get out of something. I got in trouble or something, right, at home or somewhere else. So I said, I go land myself in the hospital. By the time I get out, everything will be okay. Shoot, get out the hospital, same thing again. But here's Fred deal. Fred, he was far from admitting he was an alcoholic. So he told himself he came to the hospital to rest his nerve. The doctor intimated strongly that he might be worse than he realized. This sounds like somebody ain't took no step one, right? Condition is worse, but he still ain't smashed the delusion that he could drink like other people. So for a few days, he was depressed about his condition. He made up his mind. Okay, here we go. Here that mind again. He made up his mind to quit drinking altogether. Shoot, how many of us done made up our mind to quit drinking altogether and then drunk the same day? Me, knowing about 30 minutes later. But I be like, shit, I done put on such a show. I done made up my mind. I ain't taking another drink. Shoot, did 30 minutes, I got that drink. Give me about an hour later. Shit, here I am staggering, toe up again. That is a problem. So it never occurred to him that perhaps he could not do so in spite of his character and standing. It don't matter what kind of character we got, what kind of morals we got, how we think we such good people and all of this. That don't matter when it comes to alcoholism. Alcoholism wipes out all that stuff. So Fred would not believe himself an alcoholic, right? Much less accept a spiritual remedy for his problem. Spiritual remedy starts here in step 2. Exactly. We come to believe in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity. See, at this point, we're insane. We're still dealing with this insane thinking. Then that malady still creeps up on us and tricks us even when we least expect it. It comes up out of nowhere. Next thing you know, here we go drinking again. That's part of my experience as well. So I always like to emphasize and re-emphasize something here on page 30. Once again, we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people or present and may be has to be smashed. Yes, I can relate to that. I lived in a deluded life for so many years. There is no doubt about it. So here it talks about Fred as a stable, well-balanced individual, right? So he is a very well-balanced person. He seems to be a good person, right? In everything except when it comes to alcoholism. Fred is alcoholic. Bottom of page 39 on top of page 40. We told him what we knew about alcoholism. He was interested and conceded that he had some of the symptoms. Okay. He was very interested in, but he was a long way from admitting that he could do nothing about it himself. He was positive that his humiliating experience plus the knowledge he had acquired would keep him sober for the rest of his life. Self-knowledge would fix it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Self-knowledge used to fix me another drink, because I don't care how much we know about this thing, if we ain't got the solution, we gonna do it again. So Fred believed that it's darn fear, right? And what happened in the past, the memory of the suffering that he had would keep him sober. Shoot, I used to think about the same thing, right? Well, dog, look how hard I suffered this last time. I like to lost my life the last time from drinking. Shoot, all that get thrown out the window when that malady hit and you take that first drink. We don't even think about the consequences. What might happen this time when I pick up a drink? Shoot, am I even gonna survive? That's why I say my alcoholism was associated with Russian roulette. Because I'll be honest with you, when I took a drink, it was like setting that damn bullet off. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't know which way I was gonna ricochet. I didn't know if I was gonna come back dead or alive, right? Once I took a drink, because I couldn't shut it off, and I just kept on and on. Crazy. So here again, self-knowledge. The homeboy thinking self-knowledge will fix his problem. Self-knowledge is not enough to fix none of us alcoholics. No, sir. So, back to page 40. We heard no more Fred for a while. One day, we were told that he was back in the hospital. This time, he was quite shaky. Y'all know my experience. I know I spent at least 20 plus trips back and forth to the hospital. Ended up in the psych ward or detox center. Then they take me out the detox and put me back on the psych ward. Many trips, so I can understand. He soon indicated he was anxious to see us. Well, it took a whole lot of beating down for me to be anxious to finally sit down and accept what these people was trying to tell me finally in AA. I seen I couldn't do it on my own, right? So I had to do a lot of thinking, right? So, but then back to my man's story here. The story he told is most instructive, for here was a chap absolutely convinced he had to stop drinking. Absolutely convinced. Oh, I got to stop. Yes, I got to stop. Look at my life. My life is miserable. I can't control this alcoholism. But then again, I'm always thinking I can control it. But I got to stop. But I don't want to stop. That was my problem. But he had no excuse for drinking. No doubt. I didn't have no excuse in the world for taking another drink, but I always made excuses to drink. Boom. Who he exhibited splendid judgment and determination in all other concerns. Here's what I was talking about a while ago. Yet he was flat on his back, nevertheless. Flat on that back in the back of the ambulance or something, gone back to trips over and over again. Psych wards, treatment centers, jails, everything. Flat on my darn back. Because every time I thought I had control, boom, control was gone. Boom, back again. It's pretty rough being strapped down, laying flat on your back, and being hauled off somewhere. I don't know about y'all, that was quite a shaky experience for me. And back to page 40. Let him tell you about it. I was much impressed with what you fellows said about alcoholism, and I frankly did not believe it would be possible for me to drink again. So he haven't done no step one yet. So he appreciate what they told him about alcoholism, the symptoms and all that good stuff, but he couldn't relate to it. He didn't believe that it would be possible. See, this is belief. I ain't gonna never drink again. And then you turn around the next day, boom, drunk again. So he goes on to say, I rather appreciated your ideas about the subtle insanity, which is the malady, which precedes the first drink. But I was confident it could not happen to me after what I had learned. Once again, this malady. We can't see this malady. We can't feel this malady. We can't touch this malady. It hits out of nowhere, invisible. So he was so confident. See, confidence and cocksureness, when we don't have a solution, all it's gonna do is we just gonna drink again. That's my experience. So a reason I was not so far advanced as most of you fellows. Once again, I ain't as bad as you. I ain't as bad as you. That I had been usually successful in licking my other personal problems, and then I would therefore be successful where you men fail. I felt I had every right to be self-confident that it would be only a matter of exercising my willpower and keeping on guard. Here it is. He's trying to fix self with self, trying to keep on guard. Like they said in more treatment centers, HALT, the HALT thing, trying to watch for this, trying to watch for this, trying to watch for people, trying to watch for places, trying to watch for things, trying to run off willpower. Self-will is what we're trying to run off. But then once more, y'all know on page 43, it says the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink, except in a few rare cases. Neither he or any other human being can provide such a defense. His defense must come from a higher power. My defense comes from a higher power called God. And I thank him for it. Baffled from alcoholism all those years. And the solution was here the whole time. I've been had a big book since they sent me that meeting in 1983, right? It stayed on the shelf for years. I go to meetings, but shoot, when I was trying to read this thing way back, I couldn't see me having no allergy. I couldn't see myself having no problem in my brain. My brain's fine. My brain ain't nothing wrong with my brain. But experience showed different. Something had to be wrong for me to keep on drinking for as long as I did, no doubt, because life became unbearable after so long. So, okay, bottom of page 40. Shut it off in just a minute. In this frame of mind, I went about my business, and for a time all was well. I had no problems refusing drinks, and I began to wonder if I had not been making too hard work of a simple matter. Yeah, sure. Sometimes we can refuse drinks, right? Even a real alcoholic. Now, I can relate to that. Some days I might be feeling bad, just trying to keep myself sober, right? I didn't want to drink. So somebody come by or something, and we go somewhere, we can refuse a drink. Here, we refuse one there, but at some point, boom, we're gonna reach over and take that drink. Just like Bill Wilson in that meeting that day. They passed it on Applejack bottle around 3 or 4 times. Bill refused it the first 2 times, but then they sent it back around the third time. One ain't gonna hurt. Boom, Bill went on a bender and lost the deal that he was working on because they didn't want to put up with him because he was an alcoholic. So it goes on to say, one day I went to Washington to present some accounting evidence to a government bureau. I had been out of town before during this particular dry spell. Notice the word dry spell. So there was nothing new about that. Physically, I felt fine. Yeah, we can feel just perfect. Oh yeah, perfect day, no clouds in the sky, beautiful horizon. Boom, here it comes. There come that drink. So neither did I have any pressing problems or worries. My business came off well. I was pleased and knew my partners would be too. It was the end of a perfect day, not a cloud on the horizon. Now here comes the excuse. It's time to take one now. There ain't no doubt about it. Woo. So Fred, a little bit more about him. Yeah, Fred, that's his name. Oh, Charles, a little late today, but it's all good. So Fred thought his success in life would allow him to control his alcohol problem. That's some crazy thinking, right? Well, I'm successful at this, and I'm successful at that. I'm successful at a lot of things I do when it comes, but when it comes to alcoholism is beyond our pay grade. I can't control it. If I'm trying to control it, I can't enjoy it. I can't enjoy it if I'm trying to control it. That is a problem for a real alcoholic like me. Yeah, Charles, we are still an hour ahead here in the States. And but then I think I'm gonna stop right there so we can finish this up next week. Yeah, stop right on page 41.
Yes, good spot to finish on for the day, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of a perfect day, not a cloud on the horizon. Then we're gonna see what happened to my buddy. All right, thank you, Brother Dan.
Hey, no worries. Sorry for dropped out then. There's signal problems at this end, but
Okay.
recording would have been fine.
Oh,
Thanks
that's
everyone for
fine.
coming along. Thank you again, obviously, Campbell.